Hi, and welcome back to another return visit to Smithills Hall. And we always make a return visit because we missed so much on the first one. But this room, it's a delightful little room. I think it's used for wedding receptions. But the woodwork and panels in there, the carving is something to be looked at. So I dwell a little bit on the fireplace because of the ornate thing that it is, and the tiles, and then the door. The door has an exquisite carving, and look at the door architrave as well. That's been carved to perfection. But if you do visit Smithills Hall, just look a little bit further than the fabric. There's loads to see, and there's loads to miss, like we did as well. Now this demonstrates the medieval part of the hall. And that's how it used to be many years ago. Though that glass is known as a lozenge, and if you see, one has been replaced, or has it? Because in the old days they used to put a piece of plain glass so the butler could look out to see who was at the door. And if you do come to Smithills Hall, look up the history of this chap here. It's very disturbing, poor thing. But he left his mark in the hall, and he's left a footprint. Now we've come into the main hall, and the reason why I've come in here is because we're looking at that wall there, and that's one of the corbels that holds the roof timbers up, and it's a Lancashire rose. We missed that. Lancashire rose carved on all those in the hall. And this is what they call a fiddle. It's a plate with a little hole on the top there, on the right hand side if you're looking at it, or left hand side, and that's where the salt used to be. And the term, if you're on the fiddle, is if you had that plate too full, you were on the fiddle. And that, would you believe, is a little spy hole that the master of the house, when he retired of a night time and went to bed, if he heard anything downstairs, he could look through there to see what was happening. And the door to the bedchamber is where that little table is. And the door opens outwards into the hall, and then you went upstairs there, and that was his bedchamber. Yeah, fascinating little facts that we miss. But we have to thank one of the guides for that. And we're now going back into the chapel. And the guide was Jim Whittam, and he told us about these angels, the 4 angels within the chapel that are part of the decoration for the roof beams. And in the mid 1800s, 1850 odd, the chapel set on fire, was burnt down, and the only thing that survived were the 4 angels. Now that takes some thinking, doesn't it? Now Jim is pointing out the stained glass windows, and I asked him the question why there was no crucifix, and he said that's just the way it was built. And he's pointing out the various shields of heraldry, and then he's shown us the hymn book that's got the music in for the services. And one day he came in and found half a page tore, and it was placed on the altar bar there, just in front of the cross. And when he matched it up to the book, he found out it was Christians Awake by John Byron, and it was written in the chapel, this very chapel it was written, and it was written for a Christmas present to his daughter. And fascinating history this place has got. And he explained further the heraldry shields, and one of them was from the family Ainsworth, and we'll come to that very shortly. Yeah, the torn page was found just in front of the cross there, and like I said, if it had been somebody who was, intent on destroying, he would have destroyed the book, ripped it all up. But it was just that corner page of Christians Awake. Yeah. And I think now we go on to the shields, And one of the shields, when it comes to it, was the Ainsworths, and they had the Leech Works, and of course on their shield should be 3 shovels, but that wasn't posh enough, so they had 3 axes instead. So that's another little fact that we didn't know. And then we move on to the saints, the apostles, and he pointed out that there was one person without a halo. And why do you think that was? Well, that turns out to be Judas with his bag of gold, and that's why he didn't have a halo. And in the mid-1850s again, 1850-ish, they had a stove there, and it was lit one winter's day, and it set fire to the chapel. Now, interesting, this little chest, this cabinet chest, because of the spelling, Henry. And let's have a wait till we go further back in. It's Henry and Ellen, and we think that's Henry and Helen. And of course, in the old days, the carpenters couldn't spell, so they used to have to draw the letters, and then they carved the letters in off the drawing. And obviously that the spelling wasn't the right way around. Right, now then, this door is fascinating. Why has it got a little snicket door there? Well, during the winter months, when it was freezing, and these places must have been dire because of the drafts and what have you, and the door itself during the winter months was sealed up with clay. See, when all the gaps are there round the edges and what have you, well, wet clay was put in there to seal it from all the drafts. So that little door in the middle became the main thoroughfare. And also we were told that the floor would have straw, which is from threshing, and it was called thresh. And to stop the drafts on the floor, they would put threshing down, and then there would be a thick piece of wood holding the threshing to the door edge there. And if you opened the door and you came over that, you came over the threshold, and that's where that saying came from. There's the block of wood, and you imagine the straw underneath it, holding it. That would be the threshold. So that door would be sealed up for the winter. And there it is. And only that middle little bit would be used to allow ingress and in and out. Yeah, fascinating. It's only small. I suppose they managed it. Drafty old places. Must have been. But this wasn't always as high as we see it today, because there is 2 levels. There's the level originally, if you look at the brickwork in the stonework opposite, there's 2 different colours. Well, the top part is the part that's been added, and that where the line is there, that was the original height, and then you would have the roof on top of that. So all these little facts have come out. If you do visit, try and book a guide. The information you get from it will be incredible. Hope you've enjoyed our return. So that's it. Bye for now. See you on the next one.